Day one of Broncos mandatory minicamp was today, and it kind of reminds me of like syllabus week in college, where it's your first opportunity to kind of get to know everyone and see everyone together, except for maybe one or two stragglers who are hungover from rush week, or in this NFL comparison, holding out. But luckily, that was not the case for the Broncos at all, as everyone was in attendance. So we're going to recap the biggest takeaways, the news, the notes, and the information you need to know from the first day of this 3-day mandatory minicamp period. Now, on yesterday's video, I told you guys that we were doing a sub battle with our Chiefs Report channel for the month of June, and they were kicking our butts to start the month of June. And then yesterday's video came out, and you guys answered the call. We were down by over 60 subs, picked up 47 subscribers off of yesterday's video alone. So shout out to all of you that joined the Broncos Breakdown. And now we're only 15 subs off from the Chiefs Report. So if you want to take down the Kansas City Chiefs on the field this fall, it starts right now in the offseason in the walls of YouTube, in the walls of Chat Sports here at the Broncos Breakdown. All right, our first minicamp takeaway, we had a Courtland Sutton sighting. For the first time this offseason, we have seen Courtland Sutton working out with the team after he skipped all of the voluntary OTAs. It was great to see him in attendance because otherwise we would have had a true holdout on our hands. Sutton would have been subject to fines, and that's never fun for anyone. Now, we didn't see a ton of Courtland. He did some individual work, and then he was working on the side field with some of the injured players. Sean Payton spoke to the media following practice, saying the team wants to be smart about easing Sutton back onto the field. But overall, it's just positive to see Courtland Sutton on the field. We didn't get to see him at all during OTAs. If Bo Nix is going to have a successful rookie season, I have to envision that Sutton would be a key part of that success. So getting him back sooner rather than later will help grow that chemistry. So really exciting stuff to see Sutton on the field. He did have one drop. It was kind of a bad drop. He just dropped down and then did 10 push-ups. So accountability, baby. They got the military drill sergeant motto going right now at practice. My prediction, though, when it comes to Courtland Sutton and his contract dispute is we might see an increase in cash for 2024, but I don't think the Broncos are going to add any more guaranteed dollars to his 2025 contract. I think they want to see a little bit more from Courtland Sutton, who last year put together a really strong season, 10 touchdowns, 772 yards, after two slow-ish seasons after receiving that nice 4-year, $60 million extension. So I think the Broncos want to see back-to-back consistent seasons before giving more guaranteed money for 2025. Next takeaway from minicamp, everyone's watching Bo Nix. If you log on to Twitter whatsoever, all anyone talks about is Bo Nix. And rightfully so and understandably so, right? Bo Nix is the highest quarterback taken in the NFL draft since Jay Cutler nearly 20 years ago. So Bo Nix watch is well underway. Reports from practice were that Bo Nix only had one incompletion through 7-on-7s and just general passing drills as well. He did, according to Zach Stevens, make kind of the play of the day, if you will, a 30-yard strike over the middle of the field to Tanner McAllister, who was a DB. So unless Zach got confused and mistaken a nice catch for an interception, or possibility Tanner switched to a wide receiver, and this is the way we find out about it, it looks like Bo Nix had a really solid day altogether. But the big takeaway here is all three quarterbacks looked sharp at day one. Jarrett Stidham also only had one incompletion. Zach Wilson had two from what I read, but no quarterback has really done a tremendous job at separating themselves from the rest of the pack. All three quarterbacks, in my opinion, have been pretty conservative with the football. Like, we're seeing some shots down the field, but no one wants to be the guy that makes the first big mistake. And as long as you check it down and take what the defense gives you in flag football, you're not going to screw up. So I'd like to see one of these quarterbacks, really just Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham, because they're the only two guys, in my opinion, in contention for the starting job week one, start to be a little more risky with the football, right? I understand it's smart about holding on to the football, but there is some truth to if you've got a few interceptions when the season rolls around, that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world because it shows that you're a bit of a risk taker, and it's tough to win a football game with only completing the ball for minimal gains near the line of scrimmage. At some point, you got to push the envelope. So it's early. It's June. I think everyone's just a little bit anxious for football to get here. So we're all trying to speed things along a little bit when we're still 12 weeks away from week 1 in Seattle. But all 3 quarterbacks have been conservative. I will say Jarrett Stidham has probably looked what the most starting worthy quarterback so far. Like, I think if you're really power ranking, hey, which quarterback has looked the best, it would go Stidham. Nix is just behind him, and then a larger gap with Zach Wilson coming in at third. But be honest with me. What is your confidence level in Bo Nix starting week 1? Scale it 1 to 10 for me down below in the comment section. I'm always curious to see what the latest pulse is on Bo Nix starting week 1 for the Broncos. Third takeaway I've got from minicamp, Tim Patrick shines. It was really nice to see TP 12 now, no longer number 81, switched to number 12, back on the field for starters, but also looking good on the field. Mike Kliss tweeted out, you know who had a great day today? Tim Patrick had a good day today. Troy Rank also tweeted out, love seeing Tim Patrick have a great day. He was reliable as an old pickup until missing past 2 seasons with knee and Achilles injury. And those are not the only 2 media members that were very outspoken about how good Tim Patrick looked at practice today. So you can just file this under things you love to see. Tim Patrick back on the field and looking like the 2021 version of Tim Patrick, because that's the last time we saw Tim Patrick, right? He suffered a season-ending Achilles and ACL injury in August of the last 2 years. And if the Broncos can find this 734-yard guy, 5 touchdowns, that's going to do wonders for this wide receiver room. Because I'm not confident that Courtland Sutton can repeat a 10-touchdown season. And if he does see a dip in his touchdowns, we're looking at a 750-ish yard receiver. We're all hopeful that Marvin Mims breaks out this year, but let's not put the cart in front of the horse here. Josh Reynolds is about a 600-yard receiver on a good season. So, yeah, you may not have a clear-cut number 1 top wideout, Pro Bowl kind of guy in this room, but if you can get good to solid production from 4 wide receivers, I think Bo Nix can do more than just tread water with that. I've got some other takeaways and notes to get to you guys. Before we do, though, I do want to tell everyone about this Bo Nix t-shirt jersey available at chatsports.com/NixShirt. Now, if you want to get some new Broncos gear and you want to get a Bo Nix jersey, but you don't want to spend all the money for a new jersey, listen, I don't blame you. They're crazy expensive. But you can get a Bo Nix t-shirt jersey, a jersey as I call them, when you go to chatsports.com/NixShirt. I put that link in the comments and description of today's video. 2 notable names that I saw working to the side at practice today, both tight ends, Greg Dulcich and Adam Trautman. Adam Trautman is working through a core muscle, if I remember correctly, injury, but Sean Payton did not sound concerned about either guy. In fact, he talked about Greg Dulcich potentially returning sometime soon, so that's really encouraging to see. It's already a bit discouraging that Greg Dulcich starts the spring off injured, because that's all we've kind of known about Greg Dulcich, and it's not his fault. It's unfortunate that this hamstring and foot injury just really refuses to go away, but if there's a time to be injured, it would be now. Fingers crossed when training camp starts in July, both tight ends are ready to roll. If one of the 2 is not, or both, I don't think Trautman's injury is expected to be serious whatsoever. But if one of those 2 guys is still not available, I think that just gives more runway for the young tight end from Pittsburgh, Lucas Kroll. We didn't see a whole lot of him last year, but towards the end of the season, we did start to see some nice highlights, and he was one of those sleepers that was getting some notoriety during OTA. So if you want to sound smart in front of your friends and you're looking for a breakout candidate this year, he could be the man, because he's definitely in a spot where there is plenty of opportunities for a tight end to rise up the depth chart. Other notes I've got from day 1 of minicamp. Alex Singleton expected to get the green dot that belonged to Josie Jewell previously. Now Singleton will be the signal caller on defense. Riley Moss had a solid day, a nice pass breakup against Josh Reynolds, so that was really nice to see. Jaleel McLaughlin continues to impress. Multiple beat reporters talked about how some think Jaleel has been the best running back so far. Now, there's no pads on, and Javonte Williams' game, it's predicated on yards after contact. So when no one can contact him, you're probably not going to get the best version of Javonte Williams. Whereas Jaleel McLaughlin, he uses his speed and his quickness to get around defenders, and that's something you can do a lot easier in minicamp. So definitely keep an eye on the Youngstown State product. And then Quinn Meinerz said he is confident in all three centers they have, so keep an eye on the ongoing center battle. Alex Singleton, though, comes off yet another good season for the Broncos. I mean, I say good, 177 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. He's been really strong for them the last 2 years after coming over from Philly, I think it was. And then Jaleel McLaughlin, highlight reel Jaleel, as I like to call him. He had a really impressive rookie season. The guy was a UDFA, made the 53-man roster, and wasn't just like a special teamer that barely saw the field. He had a pretty good role on this offense, especially in the red zone. So we talked earlier about how Lucas Kroll could be the sleeper to sound smart in front of your friends. Highlight reel Jaleel may very well end up being this team's #1 running back if what all the reports are saying about him so far through spring practices are true, and they continue into training camp, and especially when the pads come on. But who is your breakout candidate for 2024? I'll go with Jaleel McLaughlin. I think he's going to have a better season than he did in his rookie year, which already was a really strong showing. So put me down for Jaleel McLaughlin for a breakout candidate as 2024. All right, that will do it for us on today's show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really appreciate everyone who comes and hangs out with us. We're going to sign off, and we'll see you all later.